The movie begins with an introduction of our protagonist, Tommy, who is a lonely middle-aged man with a dull job. He is still dealing with the pain of his breakup with his fiancée, who left him 2 years ago. He often finds himself outside her home, hoping to solve the issue. However, he never speaks to her or knocks on her door. Since his breakup, he has moved in with his mother and has nothing to look forward to in life. One day, while Tommy is returning home from his office, he notices a limo passing by. Suddenly, a famous actor, Andy Samberg, calls him. Tommy is awestruck for a while, saying he's a big fan. Andy then asks him to get into his limo, and he agrees without hesitation. Following this, Andy takes out a card and reads some details about Tommy, surprising him. He tells Tommy that he's been chosen for a game show, but Andy himself doesn't know what kind of show it is. Moreover, he mentions that the people running it know everything about Tommy and have cameras in his home. He then asks Tommy if he still wants to play the game, and the latter gladly agrees to it because he's been stuck in his boring life. Later, the two arrive at an abandoned warehouse, where Andy drops Tommy off and wishes him luck. Our hero then goes inside and is greeted by a vast, empty interior. He makes his way upstairs, goes through each door one by one, and finally meets with two older men, who turn out to be the show's producers. These men greet him and congratulate him on being selected to participate in the biggest reality show on the dark web. It turns out he will be hunted by an unknown group of assassins, who will be waiting to murder him at any time. All he needs to do is survive for 30 days to win $1 million. Hearing this, Tommy becomes scared, but the men claim that these assassins are all over the world and may not even make it to his city. In such a case, he will receive $1 million without doing anything. Tommy is still worried that others close to him will be hurt when the assassins try to kill him, but the producers assure him that the hunters are only allowed to attack the participants when they are alone. It means that as long as Tommy has someone by his side, he will make it out alive. This eventually convinces him to participate, as he is certain that he will be able to convince his family and friends to support him. In the next scene, Tommy returns home and excitedly informs his family about his upcoming adventure. However, they do not believe him, and when he claims to have met Andy Samberg, they find it even more absurd. He tries hard to convince them, saying that he needs someone by his side at all times. He says that he has posted on Craigslist looking for a companion, but no one has responded yet. Still, they refuse to believe him and assume he is making everything up out of loneliness. His mother even thinks that he's doing all this because his ex now has a baby. Upon hearing all of this, Tommy is deeply disappointed, as his own family is not willing to support him. Almost a week passes by, but no one attacks him, so he thinks that nothing is going to happen. However, one night on day 5, while sleeping alone at the house, he suddenly wakes up due to unusual noises. Tommy senses a presence in the room and begins to look around. Here he notices the back door has been opened, and a small camera has been left on the floor. He thinks the hunters are nearby, so he instantly calls his mother to let her know and says that his life is in danger. He urges her to return home, but she believes he is losing his mind again and refuses to leave work for him. Having no other option, Tommy goes to his sister's home and tells his brother-in-law, Malcolm, what happened at his place, but Malcolm finds this silly. The latter then asks him to sleep on the couch, but he is terrified of being alone and requests that they sleep together. Malcolm refuses at first, but after some convincing, he reluctantly agrees to sleep with Tommy in the same bed since his wife is working right now. Around midnight, Tommy is awakened by unusual noises and realizes Malcolm has gone to the bathroom. He then discovers a strange man approaching the home with a shotgun out of the window. This freaks him out. He immediately rushes to find Malcolm and destroys the bathroom door to get in. Malcolm feels very humiliated by the incident, so Tommy pulls him from his seat to show him the hunter, but they find no one outside. Seeing how paranoid Tommy is, an enraged Malcolm kicks him out of his house. While leaving, he notices a homeless man collecting stuff from a trash can, so he asks Malcolm to watch him until he gets to the man. He quickly approaches the man and asks for his companionship in exchange for some daily cash. Since the man has nowhere to go, he gladly accepts the offer. The next morning, Tommy's family is shocked to see a strange man in the house, and he introduces the homeless man as James, who will now accompany him all the time. His sisters are concerned for their mother's safety and question how he can trust this strange man. They are also upset with how he pulled Malcolm from his toilet seat last night. Tommy apologizes for his actions but informs them that James is not going anywhere because he needs him. As the days pass, Tommy continues to play by the rules. He and James spend all of their time together, having fun and going to work. One evening on day 13, while Tommy is with his sister, he sees that a woman named Maddie has replied to his Craigslist ad. So, he steps aside to speak with her on the phone, and she claims that she's also a participant in the game. Tommy is doubtful at first, but knowing that others are going through the same thing gives him comfort. The two then agree to meet at a public place the next day. But as Tommy hangs up the call, he forgets that he's alone. He is suddenly attacked by a huge guy who's dressed in Michael Jackson attire. Tommy says that he's with someone, but the man claims there is no one around. Luckily, Tommy manages to escape his grasp and run. He frantically approaches a bouncer and informs him of the huge man who just attacked him. At that moment, James finally arrives and apologizes for being late. The next day, Tommy and James go to meet Maddie at a cafe. He doubts that she is a hunter and wonders why she is alone if she is a participant. She then points to a woman at a nearby table and claims that this is her mother. After some conversation, she says she has 15 days left, and Tommy has 16, so he suggests they team up to win together. Maddie is hesitant to spend time with a man she has just met, but Tommy convinces her to try him for a day. Following this, she brings them home and shows them her ceramics collection. While looking around the house, Tommy hears some noises and then discovers the same tiny camera he found a few days ago, which means the hunters have been here. Later, they talk about their lives. Maddie says that she used to be married but got divorced. Tommy claims that he has never been married, but he did date someone for 23 years and broke up a few years ago. Maddie asks him why they split up, and he answers that he has no idea. He informs her that his ex suddenly ended their relationship one day, and he hasn't spoken to her since. He claims that he has gone to her house several times to talk about it, but has never dared to speak with her. Maddie feels sorry for Tommy and urges him to confront his ex, so they head to her house. Here, Tommy finally meets his ex, Teresa, who is surprised that he has come to talk after 2 years. He musters the courage to ask why she left him because he thought they were going to be together for life. Teresa admits that she also assumed they'd be together forever, but at some point, she became bored and dissatisfied with their relationship. Even though Tommy saw no problem with the routine, she couldn't take it any longer and decided to leave him. Suddenly, Maddie arrives to defend Tommy. She claims that she's his new partner and that they're planning to go on many adventures together. After getting closure, Tommy also says goodbye to Teresa and finally decides to move on with his life. Later, Maddie says sorry to Tommy for getting involved, but he tells her it's fine and thanks her for encouraging him. She then suggests that they should partner up and spend the rest of their days together. The two head to a bar to have some fun, where they open up about themselves. Maddie claims that her parents divorced when she was 10 years old, which traumatized her and later affected her relationship decisions. Tommy also talks about how his father disappeared from his family when he was a child. He says everything was normal, and one evening, he and his father spent some time playing video games and laughing. However, the next morning, he was gone. His family looked for him everywhere and even called the police, but to no avail. Afterwards, Tommy and Maddie go to her house and decide to sleep together. Her mother becomes hesitant, so she puts a cushion between them. However, around midnight, a hunter wakes up Tommy and tells him that he is everyone's favorite character. Suddenly, a group of crew members comes out of the darkness to greet him. A scared Tommy realizes that Maddie is not by his side and asks why they aren't attacking him. But the hunter has already stated that he's a favorite character and warns him that this place isn't safe for him, he needs to go. As soon as the hunters leave, Maddie finally returns with a drink. A panicked Tommy tells her that this place is unsafe for them because a group of hunters were just here. The two then check into a motel and decide to spend the rest of their days there. Here, Tommy asks her why she agreed to take part in the show, and she explains that she was bored and wanted to do something drastic to shake things up. She asks him his reasons, and he says that he was also stuck in a dead-end, lonely routine and wanted to get out of there. When the two fall asleep, a hunter shows up to attack Tommy, but he notices that his target is not alone, so he proceeds to leave. Tommy and Maddie stop him and begin arguing with him for invading their room like that. The man says he is just a maintenance worker, but they do not believe him as the uniform is kind of ridiculous. After he leaves, Tommy freaks out and thinks they should leave this motel too. Maddie tries to calm him down, explaining that they are together. Tommy then tells her that they can't be sloppy anymore and must give their 100% to be alive. Day 16, Tommy and Maddie spend all of their time together and start getting close. They begin living as if they are in a relationship. However, one day, Tommy receives a message on Craigslist from another player, who claims to have information about the game. Maddie is hesitant and says they should not meet him because he could be a hunter, but Tommy believes it is their responsibility to help those who are going through similar situations. That evening, the duo arrives at a cafe and meets the other player. Here, the man reveals that the game is a joke and that people on the dark web are watching it for laughs. He claims that the participants are usually lonely people with nothing going on in their lives and who can be easily manipulated. Furthermore, the show is a comedy. Those trying to kill them are always dressed funny and bizarre. After the player leaves, we see that Maddie is pretty upset, so she decides to take a break from their partnership and requests some space. Tommy doesn't want her or him to be alone, but she claims she can't be with him all the time and needs to breathe. Hence, the two decide to go their separate ways. After parting ways with Maddie, Tommy returns to his mother's house and lives with James. One night, a hunter wakes him up and instructs him to go outside to a car. There, he is shocked to see his estranged father after 30 years. Tommy discovers that he now lives in Cleveland and is sober. The old man wants to know how the family is doing, but Tommy isn't ready for that conversation. Tommy explains that he is very worried about Maddie's safety, and he doesn't feel prepared to have a deep conversation with his father all of a sudden. In response, the old man warns him not to ruin his relationship with Maddie, like he did with his wife and children. Day 26, Tommy arrives at Maddie's home and asks her to resume their partnership. Seeing the love in his eyes, Maddie finally admits that she was never a part of the game. She noticed his ad on Craigslist and was so bored that she decided to have some fun. Before Tommy can even process what he's hearing, his mother texts him, asking him to come home because there's an emergency. Worried, Tommy hurries to his mother's house, but James can't keep up with him. Along the way, Tommy bumps into an Ellen DeGeneres impersonator. She suddenly attacks him, but upon noticing there are people around, she flees. When Tommy reaches home, he learns that his family has actually hired an interventionist to put an end to his madness. Tommy is only 4 days away from winning the challenge, so he is not going to let his family come in his way. He informs them that he finally confronted Teresa and met his father after 30 years in a limousine. However, his family assumes that he has gone insane. Realizing that he cannot convince them, Tommy flees the house with James. The two then spend the rest of the night together by the road, and here, James admits that his real name is Walter. Tommy recalls that he never asked his name and just assumed it was James. He thanks him for supporting him and promises to buy him a place if he wins the money. However, the next morning, when Tommy wakes up, James is nowhere to be seen. Although Tommy is upset, he realizes that he is safe around the homeless people living on the street. So, he spends the next 3 days talking with random people under the bridge. On the final day, a hunter approaches Tommy and urges him to get into a limo, which will take him to the end of the challenge. He reveals that they took James because their relationship had grown repetitive, which was boring to the audience. Tommy gets scared, but the hunter assures him that James is safe in a motel. Tommy then leaves with other people, and along the way, he meets several hunters who are waiting for a chance to attack him. He eventually gets to the limo, where Andy Samberg is waiting for him. The actor asks him if he wants to resign now, with his life and no money, or keep playing till the end. Tommy vehemently refuses to quit, so Andy leaves him in the same warehouse where he was left before. Unfortunately, as Tommy enters the warehouse, many hunters show up to attack him.
Tommy?
Luckily, he manages to evade them all and enter the final room alone. There, he is suddenly surprised by producers and a crowd of hunters, who praise him and inform him that he won the game. The producers then tell him that he has been granted 1 million Danish krone, which is Greenland's currency. In the following scene, Tommy tells his family about his victory and scolds them for not believing him. However, they still don't seem to trust him, especially because he is not a millionaire. Tommy reveals that the payment is actually in Greenlandic currency and will be made in installments of 4,000 per month for 250 months. Even after all this trouble, he believes that it was all worth it. We also learned that he has rented an apartment where he and James begin living together. In the final scene, Tommy decides to reconcile with Maddie and knocks on her door, hoping for a new beginning. Thus, we reach the end of this film. Thanks for watching. You can like this video to support us. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. See you in the next video. Goodbye.